like mist or smoke, basically, and it's real noticeable. You can see it from miles away. It's going to be about 10 to 20 feet high, goes vertical. So that well's going to come up at an angle like this, start to blow off and blow. Then next you're going to see this part of the well, but you're not going to see much of it. It's only going to be about this high above the water line. Then it's going to start to go down at an angle and dive again, and you're going to see this dorsal fin, very small compared to the rest of the whale. Back here is their hips, very flexible. This is all muscle back here. These humpback whales weigh 40 to 45 tons. Just this tail area is about 3,000 pounds. Just the tail. The tail alone, from edge to edge, is about 11 to 13 feet wide. So almost not as wide as this foot. It's also called a fluke. The underside's very unique, folks. No two are the same on the markings, the different amounts of white. The top's always going to be black color. This is important because this is how we track them. About 90% of the whales, humpback whales we get here in southeast Alaska, come from Hawaii, primarily Maui. So if any folks been to Hawaii Maui and seen the humpbacks there in the winter, those same whales are here now. The remaining 10% comes from Baja Peninsula, Mexico. When these whales are in Hawaii, they're not eating, they're fasting. So they lose about 10 to 15% of their body mass. By the time they get up here to Alaska, 3,000 miles later, they're real hungry. They got to replenish that, and they're simply eating machines when they're up here. They eat about 18 to 22 hours a day, according to biologists. And get this, they eat about 1 to 2 tons of food a day. What these whales feed on primarily is what's called herring. The herring's like a smelt that's about this big, but it's in mass schools, thousands of them. They also feed on what's called caitlin and sand lance, another small bait fish. And they'll even feed on migrating salmon smoke. When the salmon fry come out of the streams and begin the migration, they're about this big, and they're traveling in huge schools. So they're opportunists, in other words. Also, they feed on what's known as krill. You folks ever heard of krill oil? Krill is like a tiny shrimp, but it's in huge volume. It's like a big blob in the water, and what determines where it goes is the current. They just float along real slow. Humpback whales are baby whale. They don't have teeth. Baleen are fine fibers of hair or strands of hair that go from the upper jaw, and they go vertical. They flow freely. They don't attach to the lower jaw. They're like curtains. Well, the bouquet that food I was telling you about, going through with their giant mouth wide open, catch all that food within those fibers of hair. Acts like a filter. Then they take their giant tongue from one side of the mouth and they sweep it across and they swallow. They're here primarily from April. They start arriving. They're still trickling in. By about the middle of June, they're pretty much all here. Then the bulk of them leave by about mid to late September, start heading back to Hawaii and Mexico. We do have a few stragglers though that stay the entire year here in Alaska. And the biologists I've talked to that have studied it years around here say we're seeing more and more staying in Alaska. But they're not the breeders. They the young males and the future females. The breeders will go back to Hawaii. The reason they do that is when the babies are young, they're born, they haven't been born from blubber yet. If they were born up here, they were free. It's too cold. They don't have the blubber yet. These are called the pectoral fins. Stomach down, relative large. Just this fin is close to 15 feet. Just the pectoral fin. This acts like a giant rudder. Like a rudder on a boat. Being all muscle is very flexible.